Light is a term very close to the Sufis. One of the Sufis talked about light intensely was Al-Ghazali. In one of his works entitled Mishkat al-Anwar, he expounds it in depth. Light, which is nur in Arabic, has the meaning diya, brightness of light, the antonym of which is dhulma, darkness. Light denotes something bright, impermanent and changing. According to Al-Ghazali, the meaning of light depends on who perceives it. So the division of its meaning in Al-Ghazali's view is in accordance with the subject who perceives it. Al-Ghazali divides humans into three groups: common people, awam, the elect, khawas, and the elect of the elect, khawasul khawas. This division clearly shows that in general Al-Ghazali also divides his views into these three groups. Sometimes he explains something to the common people, sometimes to the elect, and the book of Mishkat al-Anwar is not addressed to the common people, but as he himself conveyed to his closest disciples. According to Al-Ghazali, light is understood by common people as something visible for the sense of sight. So light in this sense is like the light of the sun, moonlight, lamplight, and all of those are completely dependent on purely material and empirical sensory perception, which in Sufism is considered the lowest of all reality. So viewed from the hierarchy of knowledge in Sufism, the light perceived by common people occupies the lowest rank, including scientific knowledge, where light is understood by empirical and sensory observations. Unlike common people, for the elect, light doesn't refer to something sensory. For them, light is not the appearance of light itself, but the faculty that can absorb light. If the light only refers to something visible or something that makes something else visible, this doesn't apply to blind people. Hence, for the elect, light is attributed to the seeing spirit, Ruh al-Basirah. An element must exist in perception. So, in the view of the elect, light is a faculty by which something can appear, both empirically and metaphysically. In other words, light is the eye, usually called aql, the rational faculty, nafs, the human soul, or ruh, spirit. Al-Ghazali states, put aside these expressions. What we mean by this eye is that meaning whereby the rational person is distinguished from suckling infants, animals, and madmen. Therefore, let us call it the rational faculty, in keeping with the technical terms of most people. The elect more understand light as a rational faculty than the appearance of the outward light as understood by common people, because indeed the outward eye, as stated by Al-Ghazali, has 7 imperfections. Those are: the eye perceives something big as if it were small. It can only perceive the outside of things. It cannot see things that are too close or too far from it. It cannot see itself. It can only see a small part of everything that exists. It cannot see the infinite, and it cannot perceive what is behind veil. In Islamic philosophy, the rational faculty, or aql, is considered a medium that can see the hidden and can reveal the unknown, while light is meaningfully something that dispels obscurity, doubt, or darkness. Hence, at this point, we find that light and rational faculty are two sides of the same coin. In the Quran, who listen to the word then follow what is most beautiful of it. It is they whom God has guided. It is they who are the possessors of intellect. A famous hadith says, knowledge is light emitted by God in the hearts of the servants He wills. Here it seems clear that the process of thinking, contemplating, or meditating in which we involve the rational faculty is called light itself. Notwithstanding, Al-Ghazali insists that although the rational faculty exceeds the outward eye, it doesn't mean that the rational faculty can know everything that exists. Indeed, there are many things that can be known by it which the outward eye cannot know, but there are a large number of things which the rational faculty cannot reach, or it is impossible for it to know them, and also it is undeniable that the rational faculty itself often makes wrong conclusions due to the influence of fantasy and illusion. So at this point, the rational faculty as light needs something else that is light outside of the rational faculty. The light referred to by Al-Ghazali in this case is wisdom. Then Al-Ghazali states that the greatest wisdom is the speech of God, the holy books revealed by Him, of which Al-Ghazali specifically mentions the Quran. The greatest wisdom is the speech of God, Among those things he has spoken in the Quran specifically. For the eye of the rational faculty, the Quran's verses take the place that is occupied by the sun's light for the outward eye, since seeing through it. Hence, it is appropriate for the Quran to be named light, just as the light of the sun is named light. The Quran is like the light of the sun, while the rational faculty is like the light of the eye. Al-Ghazali also attributes light to the Prophet Muhammad, whom God himself called Sirajul Munir, a light-giving lamp. Al-Ghazali explains the reason the Prophet Muhammad is called a light-giving lamp is because of the abundance of knowledge that emanates from his prophetic Holy Spirit, Ar-Ruh al-Qudsi an-Nabawi, that illuminates or gives a guidance to all who believe. In addition, we can understand that the messenger is not just a messenger, but he is also the message itself, the revelation. So that in terms of spiritual reality, Prophet Muhammad is the speech of God itself. Not only Prophet Muhammad, but all prophets and messengers also bear the name of light, because they illuminate and give guidance to all who believe. A quote, if it is proper to call that from which the light of vision comes a light-giving lamp, then it is appropriate to allude to that by which the lamp itself is kindled as fire. Hence, these earthly lamps originally become kindled only from the high lights. As for the holy prophetic spirit, its all well-nigh would shine, even if no fire touch it, but it only becomes light upon light when touched by fire. It is appropriate that the place from which the earthly spirits are kindled by called the high divine spirit. The levels of light in this visible world, are analogized by Al-Ghazali in a simple way. The light of the full moon shines through the ventilation of a house and falls on a mirror on the wall, which then refracts the light on another wall in front of it. Then it refracts the light onto the floor. Thus, the light on the floor comes from the wall, the light on the wall comes from the mirror, the light on the mirror comes from the moon, and the light on the moon comes from the sun. Each light has its own station, its own rank, from the lowest to the highest. In this respect, according to Al-Ghazali, the most appropriate to be called light is the one closest to the source of light. The hierarchy of light in the visible world also applies to the unseen world, Alamul Malakut. Al-Ghazali only mentions the names of two angels, Gabriel and Israfel, who according to him occupy different ranks. Furthermore, he states that there are so many uncounted degrees in the unseen world, and their light varies according to their stations. The stages end at the source of light, the divine presence, that is the source of all light. So it can be said that light in the visible world and in the unseen world has a hierarchy. Of course, the closer to the source the light is, the greater its intensity and the higher its rank are. Because the closer to the source the light is, the more it absorbs. On the other hand, the further from the source the light is, the less light it gets. According to Al-Ghazali, the hierarchy of light does not continue on to infinity, but climbs to the first source, that is the light itself, from which all lights can emit themselves. Here, Al-Ghazali seems to give an answer with a question. Is the name light still appropriate to be given to something illuminated by and borrows its light from another light? Thus, Al-Ghazali understands that all of the lights that still borrow other lights are mere metaphors, because viewed from their light, the lights are not theirs. Only the light radiating all light, and above which there is no longer any light that radiates it, is the real light. It is important to note that Al-Ghazali understands darkness to be non-existence, atom, which means the light itself is existence. According to Al-Ghazali, all of us and all entities insofar as they exist are light, and each existence has its own rank of light. However, it is worthy noting that the lights of all entities, including ours, are not their own personal lights, but shone by the light above them. This means that the other lights do not really exist, or dark atom. Their existence exists as long as the source of light emits its light to them. The existence of everything other than the source of light is really only a figurative existence, which in themselves do not really exist, and only the source of light exists, for only it has light in itself. Thus here we can emphasize that the only true wujud or existence is the source of light, God himself, while other than God are only metaphorical wujud. In Mishkat al-Anwar, Al-Ghazali boldly and bluntly asserts that there is no wujud but God, because any wujud other than God is figurative or comes from God. In other words, anything other than God has no wujud, because the only owner of wujud is God. In Al-Ghazali's own words, existence can be classified into existence that a thing possesses in itself and that which it possesses from another. When a thing has existence from another, its existence is borrowed and has no support in itself. When the thing is viewed in itself and with respect to itself, it is pure non-existent. It only exists inasmuch as it is ascribed to another. This is not a true existence, just as you came to know in the example of the borrowing of clothing and wealth. Hence, the real existence is God, just as the real light is He. This is the light that the elect of the elect apprehend. In the Quran, God is the light of the heavens and the earth. The parable of His light is niche, wherein is a lamp. The lamp is in a glass. The glass is as shining star kindled from a blessed olive tree, neither of the east nor of the west. Its oil would well nigh shine forth, even if no fire had touched it. Light upon light. God guides unto His light whomsoever He will, and God sets forth parables for mankind. And God is knower of all things. See you soon.